A person stumbles into an open mic with a new poem they want to share. Person is super nervous and still searching for their unique voice. Person performs poem and enjoys the feeling of being on stage. Person performs a few more times and gets good feedback from the crowd. Host of struggling event sees this person, asks them to do a feature set. Host of struggling event sees this person, asks them to do a feature set. Person is shocked. Person has never been paid to perform before. Person doesn't even consider themselves a poet yet. Person has no idea what a feature is, but agrees without asking any questions. Person scrambles to figure out what poems to perform during set. Person sees their face on the flyer. Person sees the flyer online, sees the lights under the flyer, clicks on the lights, imagines that these people will attend the feature set, imagines the crowd, and imagines the crowd's response.
In the world of poetry, it's different mindsets you have to have. You have your open mics, you have your poetry slams, and you have the feature. Putting the set together could be mind-boggling sometimes. How many poems do you pick? Which poems do you choose? In what order do you put them in? In this series, we follow artists all day in the day in the life leading up to their feature. Next up, we have KP Ultra, the feature.
I'm having the most random stuff in my trunk, like peanuts. But I used to do DoorDash. I'll do DoorDash, Uber Eats, for extra income, you know, because poets need, gotta get in different ways. But when you do DoorDash and Uber Eats, it makes you super hungry because you're smelling people's food all day. So I bought a bag of peanuts and that's in my trunk, just in case. Welcome to wherever we at, whatever part of Philly we in.
First thing, can you state your name to the people?
My name is Christopher KP Brown, aka KP Ultra.
Okay. So, first simple question, when did you fall in love with poetry?
Fell in love with poetry when I was 14 years old. I just written an essay and won an essay contest in 9th grade. Lois Collins, my English teacher, asked me to enter a poetry contest since I won the essay contest. And when I entered that poetry contest in 1999, I won first place for a poem called Teenager Not Danger. You really talking about the stereotypes of, you know, like teenagers, right? The negative connotations. But wrote that poem, Teenager Not Danger. More than winning, I enjoyed the feeling of having a poem, writing a poem. I never felt anything like it, never felt anything like it since.
Please leave a detailed message. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Christopher Brown. I'm calling because it's 5:49 right now, and I'm trying to get over to pick up posters that I ordered a couple of days ago. They say lifelong member of the spoken word community. They're gold and black posters. It's currently 5:50. My ETA is 6:08. I'm just hoping that somebody will still be there when I arrive. So I should be there soon. Jesus. So this particular day, I had ordered these posters earlier in the week, and what I did, you know, again, you think about, sometimes you're just really thinking about the show. I didn't think about what time the place was going to close to pick up. So they closed probably at like 5 p.m. or 5:30, but it's like 6 p.m. and I'm trying to pick up these posters. And so I called on the way twice and there's no answer. And I mean, I have everything packed in my car, so it's just pick up the posters and get to the event. So anyway, get the Fireball, they're closed, and so I'm banging on the door outside. If you know me, I'm not one to like give up on things easily. I don't care what signs say, I don't care about any of that. So I'm banging on the door, and nobody really comes. There's a class, some type of music class going on upstairs, and so they happen to take a break while I'm banging on the door, and one of the people comes down from that. This lady pops up, and she comes to the door. I could tell she doesn't really want to open the door, but she opens the door, and hell, I'm not going anywhere, so you might as well go ahead and open the door. She finally opens the door, and we kind of explain the situation. Say, hey, like, Fireball Printing's right there. Could you just, like, knock on the door? Do you have any contact, anything like that, any way for you to reach out to them? And so she says, like, yeah, I think I can get on the phone with them. She walks back inside. We don't ever see her get on the phone with them, but eventually this dude comes to the door. He says he works there. And when he comes up, then another dude pops up out of nowhere. So all of a sudden, it's multiple people here. And I tell him that, hey, I got a show tonight, just trying to get the posters, already paid for them, and really just wanted them for this particular show tonight, because it was the first feature out of a set of features coming up. We chopped the globe with a book called Harlem, hoping homicide don't hit home. We don't need them problems. They say it's probable that these parables help us prosper. Sugar-free, weed, keep remarkable niggas on the roster. Buffalo Soldier in my headphones, inspired by a roster. Too broke to eat meals in the right order. Woke up this morning, had pasta. Sorry, we're recording. Next time? Yeah. Thank you so much. You saved the day.
Oh, yeah.
We were banging on the wall and ringing the bells and all that.
We close at 6, but
oh, it is 6 o'clock. So we pick up the posters and we leave Fireball, and we're coming down Germantown, because the event is on Germantown. And so we're coming down Germantown, and I'm like, what in the world is going on? Because it's fire trucks all of a sudden, fire trucks, police cars, ambulance there. And I'm kind of freaking out, because where we are is a block away from a family member's house. So now we've gotten into the territory of like, oh, I got a show, but also now, like, I'm concerned on a personal level, because it's so close. And we stop, we get out of the car, just trying to see what was going on. And we were very lucky, because it actually wasn't, we made calls to the family we were worried about, like, hey, y'all good? Everything's straight? And they tell us everything's fine. And we kind of figure out what's going on, and it wasn't directly involved we're thinking everybody ended up safe in that whole situation. But what's also crazy about that particular spot is that that's where I met Black Ice for the first time. Right, that particular block of Germantown, this is at the Link. Back in the day, there's a Darius Lance who does Coffee After Dark now, but he was doing this event and Black Ice was featuring there. And that was the first time I met Black Ice in person. We got to chop it up with him, smoke with him, and all this shit. And so that particular spot was a crazy spot for all of this to be going on.
Thanks for the feature tonight.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming out.
Yeah, thank you. Forward to it.
say hi to the people.
Hi.
KP's feature we're filming.
Hey. I'm excited to see what comes of it.
Exactly.
You might ask her some questions.
Some questions? Really?
Look, I'm here.
Okay, what's the relation?
So community members of the spoken word community. I don't even remember how we met. I think we may have met here.
Yeah, I saw the Instagram. I popped up here like in June or something.
Yeah, so I had already been.
Father's Day weekend.
Yeah. Oh right. yes. So KP and I had already been following each other on Instagram, and this was when I started following him. That was right when he had discontinued Breed Love Tuesdays, and I was super sad about that. But yeah, have been following him for a long time already. Started doing this open mic in January, and he just popped up, and I was like, oh shit, it's KP. That's in my open mic right now. A little bit of a fan person moment, but yeah, and then ever since then, we've just stayed in contact. He's come up to a few of the open mics, listened to his projects on Spotify, and it kind of just grew into this kind of organic mutual relationship of poets, veteran and sort of newbie, kind of, not really.
So right now we have like some major events that have an international following. And when you talk about Voices in Power in Philadelphia, if you talk about DTL poetry in Philadelphia, Dare to Listen. If you talk about Two Lines, hosted by Greg, run by Greg AVG, that whole team. If you think about First Friday Poetry up in Manayunk, which is one of my favorite events as well. When you think about these events in the city, there's a presence that's local, national, regional, international. And that's great, but because of the way I started off in doing poetry and started off in people's living room, just sharing poetry amongst my friends, I like the smaller events. I prefer a smaller event than a big event. I can do the event where the lights are in my face and all that, and I can't see the crowd, but I much more prefer to see the crowd, see the audience, and not have to use a mic if I don't even need to. So over the summer, when I was practicing my pieces, I was going to Say It With Your Chest on a regular basis up in Germantown, hosted by Kalisa, with Dita Controller, with Marquise Terrell as your videographer. And I just like working with them. Matter of fact, Kalisa is mixing the album right now. And so I just kind of like being around that space and being around them. And after a while, Kalisa hit me up, and I don't know if I'm supposed to say this, but I wasn't paid for that feature. And she was like, the reason I didn't ask you to feature is because I knew I couldn't pay you, KP. And I was like, no, it's all good because, like, one, I need the experience again. I haven't really performed a lot, so I need the experience. And, like, every time I come to your event, like, I sell merch anyway. And so we can work all this out. Like a parent, you'll appreciate me more when you're older. This ain't no alter ego, it's other elements to ultra. If I ever slam, I'm Anthony Edwards. You the other nigga on the poster. You a IG Live, I'm an interview with Oprah. Higher quality than the average. Anytime I step to the stage, it's pure juice, no additives. Yeah. See, a brother like me, I went from Reebok Classics to these, Nike SBs, prayed for improvement of the pen. I was hoping God would bless these words. When in 5 stars, the sign says, do not disturb. I used to build with my brothers. The motivation was crushed herb. Addicts chilling on the curb. Tragic feeling in my nerves. Passion spilling from my verbs. Captured, killers getting served jail time. 25 to life, they wait no mail time. Prison letters censored. Say peace to Joyce Jackson. We went from snapping, marching, and clapping to clapping on brothers and trapping. Trapped in systems, no snitching, but that depends on who you're asking. Our language has been coded since back when we would hide messages in quilts. Now peep this patchwork. America was built off the backs of black work. Still, we underestimate black worth. We disrespect our own habitats. We wax and shine Cadillacs but throw trash on the ground. Your cleanliness is a contradiction the way you lay your head. 6-year-olds talking about getting some head because they heard it in the song. Now, peep how we pollute minds early on. My uncle used to offer me alcohol, spring training for addiction. I played the sidelines most seasons, but yo, these are the gifts that black kids inherit. The illness, the sickness, juniors who never knew their seniors, trying to get paid in full like Ace staring out the cleaners, presidents falling from the sky. They say Benjamins make us fly. I say that's where the evil's rooted. Testaments will testify, but serpents test if I was ever under the steeple. What you talking? We were always a God-fearing people, even before we called them God, always a righteous people. Imagine Jesus hanging from a tree, lynchings for crucifixions for Negroes. We were always more like Christ. My paternal denied me 3 times. Words of Peter, we were always more like Christ. My neighborhood was never Nazareth. Nevertheless, we lived the same narrative. No earthly fathers. We carried crosses. We died before we get to read our own stories. Reference Malcolm, reference Martin, see Medgar, see Lumumba, reference Jonathan Jackson, see the little brother dying for the big brother, see love, see unity, see me, you, we are excellent, see your excellence. So we get to the event, we get to the venue, I set up my merch table. I get a feel for the space, I walk around the space. Anytime I feature, I'll walk around the space and also try to walk on the stage. I just kind of want to see how it feels up there. And after that, I practice with that in mind. I practice having envisioned and been in the space that these poems are going to be delivered in within the next couple of hours. So when I got to the venue, set up my merch table, felt the venue out. I like to watch people coming in, see what their energy is like, check in with the host, what their energy is like. You 9 times out of 10, you can tell how your night's gonna go based on what your relationship is with the host and how you're interacting with the host when you arrive, or what the interaction was before you all, before this night when y'all were setting it up. So anyway, I go outside, I practice all my poems, practice all 10 poems that are on the menu, see how they feel coming out of my body, make sure I'm using my body and that coming from the gut and not just, this nasal thing, Biggie versus Nas. You know what I mean? Like, Nas has a very nasal sound. Biggie has this very bass. You can hear the bass in it. And so making sure the bass is coming out of my body and not just treble, doing those things. It's just feeling comfortable enough with the poem, making sure that I'm performing the poem and not reciting it from memory, right? If I'm reciting from memory, that means I'm trying to recall the lines. If I'm performing, I'm completely in. I know the lines. Like, I'm completely in the space of the poem. So trying to get into that space.
It is an honor to have him coming up here and performing you guys tonight. So everybody, please give a super, super warm welcome to KP Ultra.
Said, I done got high off of Jesus. Said, I done got high off sativa. Said, I done got high off of Jesus. Said, I done got high off sativa. Got high to the highest power, but I'm a born again believer. No, a torn again believer. Grew up in church, but grew out of it in college. Maybe them folks had gave me the wrong set of knowledge. Tell hip hop I still love her. Tell her one day poets will realize that bashing that genre won't result in success for this one. Barack Obama didn't win the election by bashing John McCain. Instead of swerving into hip hop, drive steady in your own lane. We be at open mic venues acting like all we listen to is Nas, Common, or Badu. Acting like we ain't never had a drink to a Gucci track or two. Acting like our iPods are full of Lauryn Hill. Acting like our playlists are full of Lauryn Hill or Nina Simone. Searching frantically for criticism anytime a Drake song comes on. And that's funny, because with all that complaining we do, at the end of the day, poets listen to rap too. A person stumbles into an open mic with a new poem they want to share. Person is super nervous and still searching for their unique voice. Person performs poem and enjoys the feeling of being on stage. Person performs a few more times and gets good feedback from the crowd. Host of poetry event sees this person, asks them to do a feature set. Person is shocked. Person has never been paid to perform before. Person has no idea what a feature is, but agrees without asking any questions. Person scrambles to figure out what poems to perform during sets. Person sees their face on the flyer. Person sees the flyer online, sees the lights under the flyer, clicks on the lights, assumes these people will attend a feature set, imagines the crowd and even imagines the crowd's response. The person arrives to the venue, far too nervous to hear any of the other poems. Never realized the butterflies in the stomach could be so loud. The host reads the person's bio. The crowd shows love in advance. The person does a poem, then another poem, then some more poems. Finally, the set comes to an end. The person feels relieved to finally get over the nervousness that had been building up. They look up at the crowd for a few seconds. They take in the moment so they never forget this feeling. So they never forget this high. In the few seconds between the last poem and reaching their seat, the ego eases into the room. The ego slides into the room. The ego tells the person, yo, you done made it now. The person still hasn't found their unique voice. Person is no longer a person. Person is now a featured poet. The ego is the proof. The ego is the proof. Featured poet stops signing the open mic list. Ego is too big to be held by a list. Featured poets show up halfway through the event, but yo, give me a good spot. Featured poet say they tired of y'all requesting that same old poem. Featured poet does the poem anyway, since y'all asked. Featured poet forgot how it feels to have a new poem they want to share. Featured poet now more concerned with impressing the crowd. Featured poet now more concerned with you capturing the right angles. Gotta get the follower count up to feel relevant out here. Featured poet begins to sound formulaic. The ego says it ain't the poem, it's the crowd. Featured poet blames the crowd. Featured poet gon' voluntarily run it back cause y'all missed that line. I said featured poet gon' voluntarily run it back cause y'all missed that line. Featured poet be searching for the love they got that one time. The snaps and the claps and the likes and the follows and the recognition and the attention, it all creates a high, an addiction, a wave to ride, a peak to climb, a state of ecstasy within the mind. Featured poet takes that high all the way home, shares that high with the ego, shares that high with the ego, because can't nobody feel it the way I feel it, you know. And I want to feel that high as often as possible, to the point that it's only about that high. Featured poet can't seem to hit that high the way they used to. Featured poet enjoys poetry, but ain't in love with it no more. The ego tells the poet to be bitter towards the scene instead of looking inward. Featured poet stops performing. Poetry community asks on a regular basis, yo, what happened to that person? They speak nothing of the featured poet. Poetry community misses the person. Featured poet found a new passion. Don't really do the poetry thing no more. Meanwhile, a person stumbles into an open mic with a new poem they want to share.
Word. Thank you.
Yeah, so I mean, I want to thank Kalisa for having me out to feature for sure, and the whole Melani Cafe team, which they're all cool. I like working with all of them. Marquise Terrell, Need a Controller, who might be working on this album some. I want to shout out Lindo Kerwin for coming through. Obi-Wan Kenoly, as always, for coming through. Of course, Link for coming out and doing this. And yeah, so it was a good time. And to like, I don't know, my advice to younger poets. Damn. Like, in regards to the feature, I would say as far as one mistake, and you didn't ask for this, but one mistake I felt like I made during the feature was poem selection. One thing I like to do, even if I'm doing the menu, I like to choose one poem for myself that's really just on my heart. And I didn't do that night. So that's something I would suggest to poets, like even in a feature set, make sure you do that one poem that's really on your heart, that's tugging at you. Even if you don't know it, even if you got to read that joint, if it's really like tugging at you, do that piece, because that may be the energy your set is supposed to be in for that night. A person stumbles into an open mic with a new poem they want to share. Person is super nervous and still searching for their unique voice. Person performs poem and enjoys the feeling of being on stage. Person performs a few more times and gets good feedback from the crowd. Host of struggling event sees this person, asks them to do a feature set. Host of struggling event sees this person, asks them to do a feature set. Person is shocked. Person has never been paid to perform before. Person doesn't even consider themselves a poet yet. Person has no idea what a feature is, but agrees without asking any questions. Person scrambles to figure out what poems to perform during set. Person sees their face on the flyer. Person sees the flyer online, sees the lights under the flyer, clicks on the lights, imagines that these people will attend the feature set, imagines the crowd, and imagines the crowd's response.